So, from a hierarchy perspective, you were 2 degrees away from the head of a cartel.
Yes, at my final point, yes. He knew a lot of the profit and money that he was bringing for years was really me moving
You.
it, though. Technically, what I'm charged for is the possession of 10 keys, right? That is so little work. It was a holdover. You know, I literally just had it to hold over until my next semi truck came. And in Mexico, the cops drive trucks and they stand in the back of the truck with like AR, AK, just literally when you fly into fucking the airport, they're all in the airport outside of it
Fucking
with
machine guns.
fucking like military grade weapons. It's crazy.
FBI, open up!
The FBI swarming a Miami house and taking a man into custody in the area of Southwest.
So say goodnight to the bad guy.
The agency says the 28-year-old was picked up after the grand jury indicted him in 5 months.
Man, the universe really got in our way on this one, but
Tried to.
yeah, tried to is
Devil
the
get
word.
up off me.
They the world doesn't know what it's like when two unstoppable forces get together. I guess.
Facts.
Blake Rossi, welcome to Honor Among Thieves.
Thank you for having me.
This is by far the most excited I have ever been to do a podcast. You're looking at a man who has done well over. I probably have 200
Oh.
episodes under my belt already. I mean, and that was including before my rebrand, but whatever. So this might be the most excited I've ever been.
I am flattered that my criminality could excite you. Ah.
And this is an exclusive because I've never interviewed somebody right before they're going in. So
Facts.
some gangster shit right there,
Yeah.
going out with a bang.
Does slightly damper my mood a little bit, but you
Nah,
know, it'll be all right.
You're going out like a gangster.
Period.
I think that's the only way a person like you could go out, in my opinion.
Facts.
So Blake Rossi, you have so many layers.
Mm.
I mean, where do I don't know where to begin. Like, oh my god,
Yeah.
American cartel female boss. One of the sickest drug careers. You're talking about a guy who does this for you. One of the sickest drug dealing careers I've ever heard.
Thank you.
You're fucking beautiful. You're young.
Thank you.
You're an anomaly. You know, I can't even tell where you're from. You could be Hispanic. You could be white. You could be all kinds of shit. Like, this is nuts.
You know,
You're almost like a mythical figure. You're like a unicorn or a mermaid.
that's why I've lasted so long, though.
Mm.
You have to think is the diversity. I can completely change my appearance, and if you look back, I have, strategically over the years. But you get to see me in my true essence now because, I had many years of dyeing my hair platinum blonde to be the passing white, that I very much can portray.
I think the red dreadlocks.
And it worked. Yeah,
they
now I
suit
can look like the thug I am, honey, because y'all got me. I haven't got to be myself in a long time.
Oh man, this is gonna be fun. All right. So Blake, let's start at the very, 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 very beginning. So where are you originally from?
My family's originally from Sierra Madre, California. So outskirts of Los Angeles, the foothills is what it's called, to the Los Angeles mountains.
Where'd the southern accent come from?
Because I moved here when I was 9.
Okay.
Yeah, I
What do
moved
you-
here when I was 9.
What do you remember about California?
Well, a lot. Being more diverse culturally for sure, that part. Um, but then I've lived back and forth my entire life, so I've had both dynamics and kind of used the Cali cool girl, I always was like, God, it fucking sucks here. Just like people are just way cooler out there. I don't want to be like this. like and so I just kind of adulterated, and the personality that I wanted to be when I was young, kind of always had goals of that.
You grew up with both your parents?
No, I didn't ever know my biological dad, actually. When I was 16, I snuck to a halfway house, skipped school, and had my friend with a car drive me to a halfway house where he was at and met him for the first time. And yeah, I saw why my grandparents, my mom got pregnant with me when she was like 17, 18. And I guess my grandparents are very prominent, wealthy, and my mom was wilding out, was like, no, he's not gonna be her dad. Like, no, we're just gonna not, just don't even tell him type shit.
Was he a career criminal?
Oh, very much mixed into the cartel and everything.
Really?
Crazy
So
how
it runs in the blood.
crazy how the apple falls far from the tree. He spent like years in Mexico, and yeah,
Mm.
he's biracial himself with
Okay, go
with
figure.
with Hispanic and African American. So definitely, apple didn't fall far from the tree.
So your mother had you at 18?
Yeah.
Okay. That's wild. What are your first memories? Like, what do you remember about life?
I don't have a lot of good. I'm not gonna get on here to like make it about bashing, or relaying much about my
It's your
horrific
story.
childhood.
Say what you want.
Yeah, I know. I try to self-preservate a little bit, but for sure my childhood led me to have the mentality that I ended up having about obsessing over financial security was one of my biggest, because my mom I'd never understood her. She came from very wealthy parents, like her parents millionaires.
She was one of those rich
Grew
kids
up in,
who like were
went to
wilding out.
private school, got kicked out of
Right.
private Catholic school because she wanted to run around with the bosses and thugs.
Mm.
Like, which,
Which is like
whatever.
typical rich kid stuff.
Whatever, yes, but she never like outgrew the mentality, and she ended up getting married like 3 times throughout my childhood, and I had all these different stepdads.
Mm.
And my mom, I'm the oldest of 8 in totality. So all the responsibility fell on me of helping, in the mental. My mom, I can't even say like she was a drug addict or anything like that to excuse a lot of her behavior. She just mentally was very selfish first and foremost, and I don't know, I can't excuse it any one way or another, but very much showed me what I didn't want to be.
Mm.
And I guess good or bad quality, whatever you want to call it, but it made me very focused on finding my own sense of security and safety and power, because I learned money and power, growing up. That's what gets you anywhere, that's what gets you respect. So yeah. I remember watching the movie Blow when I was like adolescent at some point, whenever it came out. I don't know how old I was. As fucked up as this sounds, I remember watching that and being like, I want to be that one day. I don't know what's wrong with me. As a kid, I was like, that life just looks so cool. But I didn't want to be the girl. I wanted to be Johnny Depp. I did start out as the girl though, to be fair, and was like, fuck this.
We'll get there.
I can do this better than.
We'll get there. I got you.
Yeah.
Was your mother the reason you originally got exposed to the criminal element?
No.
That was a choice you made later?
It fell upon my lap
Mm.
very soon when I turned 18. So didn't have a good childhood life, home life at all. So I started working very young, any job that I could get,
Mm.
and wanted my own money and by the time I was 17, I had been working at McDonald's since I was like 15 when they hired back then. I think it would be like 15 in a day. And I was like a junior manager. I loved working there, by the way, so no shame there. It was a ball. When you're a kid, everybody should have to work at fast food once in their life. It's so much fun.
Yeah, I worked at McDonald's as a kid.
Wasn't it fun? And all your friends work there. All the people your age, it's not like work at all. It was a ball. But I, ran away at some point and went to like juvie and a group home briefly and got out.
Hold on. Wait a minute. You can't breeze over that. Hold
I
on.
mean, it's not super important to the rest of the story.
I know, but hold on. So I'm assuming because of the strenuous relationship you had with your mother,
Yes.
all that, you decided to run away.
Yes.
How old are you?
I was 17. Just,
Seven.
I think barely turned 17.
Okay. Do like cops try to come look for you and all that kind of stuff? Or?
Yeah. So I actually was the longest runaway in like the county history at the time. I don't know if it's changed, but my mom very much placed men over me my entire life, and it to this day it bothers me like bad, but I was fed up. She wanted to up and move all of a sudden to chase this guy to another city who was married, by the way. Let's just throw that out there. Fuck you, mom. But and I was like about to be a junior in high school. I didn't want to leave all my friends, i- immature thoughts at the time, in hindsight, but I was like, fuck this, I'm gonna run away. I don't even know that I made the conscious decision. I just didn't go back eventually. It was my grandfather, my poppy. My mom's side is Italian, so poppy is my grandfather when I referred to that. He ended up being the one I think that called the police and like made a report because he's, like telling my mom, like, what do you mean, bitch? That she's just not coming back. You're just gonna let her. And almost a month went by, and my poppy had a friend of his, a personal friend who was a U.S. Marshal. And I guess he got them involved. And I'll never forget it. One night I was watching the movie Deliver Us from Evil. And in the movie, the juvie kids get sent to the haunted house. And I remember thinking that would be awesome if that happened to me. And I got to go fight, some mythic figure in a haunted house. And I heard that knock at the door. And they had found me via MySpace IP address. I was
Yeah,
telling
they
you
were
earlier,
tracking IP addresses back then.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, if that doesn't show our age, that it was a MySpace account. But yes, that's how they found me and narrowed it down to where I was at specifically. Um, so yeah, went to juvie for not long and then got sent to a group home for a few months.
So up until 17, you didn't have any interactions with the criminal element.
No, not towards me. Police involvement for like child abuse that was done on me, but not yeah. I wasn't that kid that didn't tell. Like this ain't supposed to be going on. My mama got this dude in here who is beating me black and blue, or going to school with a black eye. My mom would cover it up with makeup. Nah, bitch, this ain't supposed to be happening. Like I always knew, had very instilled kind of right and wrong understanding and since I was young. Not that I always followed it, but I knew.
Did that happen
And
more than once?
yeah. The first time in second grade, and the next time was in fourth grade. After that, I stopped telling because I was like, God damn, y'all just keep sending me back to these people you know, and making it like I'm some, you know, then you just get treated worse at home ultimately. I went and lived with my Aunt Beck for like a few months, which I'm so grateful for that because she taught me like everything like womanly that how to cook, how to clean yourself. And if you've ever seen the movie Big Mama's House, she's like the epitome of the real Big Mama. Like that's what she reminds me of to this day. She's passed away a few years ago. It's very sad, but very grateful for her and my cousin Rhoda, her daughter. Um, she had a hair salon, and that's how I learned how to do hair. But ironically, my mom was a hairdresser too, so I kind of grew up and I saw both aspects, like a black hair salon and a white hair salon. So I learned how to do both. And but yeah, very grateful for that time.
Did going through all that shape your? How did it shape your worldview? Like, if you had to pick out something that stuck with you as far as like how you thought the world worked.
I'm gonna get emotional. Definitely towards men, how it shaped the most profound aspect, like the not ever feeling like the safety. I don't know.
All right. Would you say this kind was it like a disdain for men in general, or was it just kind of like
Not a disdain, just a understanding to have a guard and to when you grow up the way that I did, you learn to sense micro expressions. You learn to pattern recognition. Your brain starts computing all the time because you live in constant fear of what the day is going to bring. One of my stepdads, it was so crazy. I used I, it also affected greatly my like view towards God for a long time because it took a long time for me to like rebuild a relationship because like I said, I had this innate understanding, like, and I'm like, how is there a God as a kid? I remember being like 19 years old. There's no way, like, kids are innocent, you know? How do you allow this to keep happening? Like, and so that was hard. Sorry, I got distracted.
So
What was the question again?
no, you're on track. You're on track here. So
But yeah, no, I don't have disdain towards men. I
right,
just don't easily trust men
I'm with you.
or feel comfortable in like a living setting, you know?
Mm. You have siblings?
Yes, I'm the oldest of 8, remember?
The oldest of 8.
Of
Wow.
8, 7 girls, the last one's boy. The last 3 are my kids' age, if that tells you anything else, but
All on your mom's side?
all from my mom, yeah. So there was 5 of us growing up that I was the oldest of, and then my mom was pregnant at the same time. I was pregnant with my oldest daughter who's
Mm.
11, and
Mm.
yeah, so those kids don't really count in the context of, you know,
Did
me growing up.
anything that happened to you happen to your siblings?
See, they other than me, I'm the only one that doesn't have like a matching sibling set of like that has the same mom and same dad. Um, so they had their dads there to buffer things. I'm not saying that they didn't experience the, you know, wrath of our mother and the crazy shit in general that went on or don't have trauma because we all absolutely do, but it was easiest for him to take it all out on me and I was the oldest and I don't know, that guy hated me since I never understood, you know, like I was literally in 2nd grade when he met my mom. I remember it too. I remember we were in the park and he had half cornrows and half of an afro. And I remember him walking up to my mom's car and giving her his number on a piece of paper. It's burned in my brain forever. That's the moment my life went to shit. My mom in 1st grade made she got divorced and my nanny passed away in the same year. Before that, the like few memories that you have when you're young were good. Like my mom, I don't know, like what, and it's not an excuse. She uses it as an excuse, but it's not. You know, when you become an adult and a mother and stuff, I'm sorry, I don't fucking buy that. You don't get to abuse your kids for the rest of their life because your mom died and you got a divorce. You know, like that's not. You know, maybe a crazy year or you know an off time, but you shake back like that. I don't. I don't give grace there, but yeah, so when I was a baby, my poppy was like pressured my mom to marry this guy to like, you know, stabilize her life and give me a dad. So I grew up until 1st grade. I thought this man was my father. My last name was different and everything. I shit you not. Then they get a divorce. Then they had 2 kids together, my closest siblings. They had 2 kids together. They get a divorce, and it's like that typical every other weekend, every other Wednesday situation. Told you I've always been very perceptive in general, you know. I mean, but he starts being like mean to me, like noticeably different than like the daddy that I grew up knowing. Boom, one day I'm like going home every time, like he's being so mean to me, and you know, da da da. And then my mom sat me down, I'll never forget, and was like, so, you know, I basically married him because I was trying to give you a dad. He's not really your dad. Da, 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 da. And it all made sense in hindsight because I looked nothing like them and his family treated me different than, like, in hindsight, like I said, but I was a kid. So that was probably my first heartbreak and trauma right there. Like, what do you mean? Like, that, okay. So, you know, huge life change. And then he just stopped being a part of my life, like, period. Like, what is wrong with you? You know, and again, as an adult, when you think about these things, which is not often at all, but it's just like, what the fuck was wrong with you? Like, who does that to a kid?
Mm.
You know, or why would you take that role on and then
I
just
get
be
it.
like, throw you away, you know, like,
Yeah, I can definitely relate. As a kid, there was a lot of things as a kid. I remember having the memory of being like, "What the fuck is wrong with you? Like, why are you doing that in front of me? I'm 12 years old or I'm 11."
yeah.
So, yeah, I had my share of things which different family, whatever. Um, so I can definitely relate. All right. So obviously that molds you a certain way, instills certain beliefs in you. So let's fast forward back to when you're 17 and you come back home. Like you turn 18 pretty soon after that, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it was like a few
Do
months after
do
that.
you immediately like run out the door as soon as you're 18?
Yeah, I actually tried to commit suicide like a month before my 18th birthday, actually. And then, yeah, I, on my 18th birthday, so I was working at McDonald's. A few months before this, I rented an apartment from this slumlord, Roach Motel apartment, but it was mine. He didn't ask for ID, nothing, this guy, and was just wanted to get the fuck away. And I, I had a friend that worked at this strip club, and she was like, do the amateur night. They had like an amateur night once a month back then. And it like fell on my exact birthday. And I won. And I won $500. And back then you win the money and they offer you a job. And I'm like, $500 for one thing. That's like what I make damn near every two, you make like
Takes you
600,
2 weeks to make that
yeah,
money.
to make that shit. So it was a no brainer. It was very it's not easy to get used to doing that type of thing either. You have to very much numb your mind.
Was anybody
And I
under
love the
aware
money.
that you were underage?
I wasn't underage. I did this on my 18th
Oh, 18th
birthday.
birthday. All right,
On
all
my
right.
18th birthday, I did the amateur night. That's why,
Talk
yeah.
about starting off with a bang.
Yeah, but so I saw just endless opportunity and potential here to upgrade my life. And immediately that's what I did. Got my first car, no cosigner, no nothing, moved to a nicer place, and it very much quickly changed my life. Um,
So was that your very first job after you had like a fast food job or whatever?
yeah, I quit that shit like within a week or two of doing that. And then, and, in the way things work in the universe, like 3 months later, I ended up meeting the person who would influence the rest of, you know, my career trajectory, if you will. And I picked up this regular, um, not gonna use names, obviously, but so I picked up this regular, this Hispanic guy, and he used to come in on Monday, every Monday, and then he would come in occasionally on the weekends when it was busy. But I found it strange why it came on Mondays when it's like dead. But he started coming in every Monday, and a few months later, we're cordial enough that I've somehow had his phone number. And what won him over eventually was one night he had came in on the weekend, like I had said. My roommate at the time, we were in a VIP room. He had me and this other girl in there. This is how he's throwing dollar bills on us while we're like he's extra. And my roommate at the time was across from us, like where you could see in a booth, and with this other Mexican guy named Jose. He was from Miami, actually. His family owns a hotel there. He was a big time coke dealer. He actually got killed a few years later, and this behavior is explanatory why. Afterward, he was a big shit talker. He was young, and he wanted everybody to know that he had the pack in and he had the bread, and he was always in there telling strippers all of his business. Well, we get out of the VIP, and Patricia was like, "Hey, you're regular. Jose said that he robbed him for 75 bands and that he was going to shoot him in the parking lot or something." And I was like, "What?" So I messaged him and was like, "Hey, I don't know what all you're into," even though I used to joke with them, like, "Why do you have 3 phones? You're not a party promoter in Chicago. Fuck out of here." But I was like, "I don't know what all you into, but dude said this, that, and the other." And he was like, what the fuck ever. He's talking shit. He was like, "But you know what? You're cool. You didn't have to look out for me like that if that was a situation." He knew I like to smoke weed. And back then, this is like 15 years ago almost. Um, he was from Cali. And so he was like, "I got the Cali weed." This is when we had seeds and stems for the most part still going around, and good weed was real expensive. He was like, "Meet me at the Mexican grocery store by the club tomorrow and I'll give you weed." So our friendship kind of just developed more after that. We started like smoking every once in a while or something. And my mom was pregnant at the time with the first of the 3 little kids, and dude was in prison, typical of her. Dude went to jail, like, right after she found out she was pregnant, and because she was older, having a baby, she had, issues, placenta previa or something. She had to be on bed rest, basically, and I had to pay her bills and mine, her rent and my rent, and I'm 19, barely, and so I had picked up a job at Applebee's and was working at Applebee's and dancing, and I was just really overwhelmed, I guess. And I was telling him, I need more money. I need to make more, whatever. I told him the circumstance. Somehow it was brought up. He trusted me enough at that time and was like, I got to wait that you can make some money, And I'm like, shit, okay, sign me up. Long story short, my mom ended up going into labor quick, early or whatever. And I'm at the hospital. I maxed out my first credit card to get like everything for the baby, like car seat. Didn't have nothing. And he's like, hey, you ready to make that money? He pulls up at the hospital and somebody pulls up with him and they drop off this car, this shitty older 2-door Honda Accord. I'll never forget. With out of state Illinois plates. By the way, I would never work like that in my era. Like we not no. And literally, I swear to God, he was like, okay, look, you're going to take this car, drive it to this address in Chicago, put the keys under the mat, and go in the restaurant and order something. I literally was like, Blake, you're about to get sold into sex trafficking. That's what this is. This has all been a long-term ploy. I was so scared. Do you hear me? I don't know what I'm picking up. Nothing. I don't know any more details than this. He's like, when I'll tell you when to go back out to the car and then drive it straight back. Mind you, my dumbass had danced the night before. So I'm like out till like 4 a.m. I have like no sleep. And when I got back,
In spite of that thought you had, you still went and did this anyway?
well, obviously, yeah,
Okay, continue.
Oh, if it's my time, it's my time. Take me to the king. Feel me? Like, but yeah, I did it anyways.
So
Fortune favors the
you get to
bold.
Chicago with no problem?
Get there, no problem. I'm scared shitless. I'm sitting there. I'm like looking out the windows, like fucking. I see these fucking little young skinny Mexican guys get in the car and they take it somewhere and they bring it back. I didn't know what was in the car. Nothing. Drove it back. When I came back, dude had, I can't remember if it was 3,000 or 5,000 at the time. Sometimes it would be 3, sometimes it would be 5. I guess it depended on the amount that I was bringing back, unbeknownst to me. And he came outside, gave me my money. He was like, come inside. He had rolled like a buffet blunt, but it was like one of them big, huge ones. We celebrated. And, the rest is history, really. So I started doing that like every couple weeks with him.
Did you ever like look in the car, the trunk, or the bag, or did you always just drive and then
Yeah,
whatever?
no, I never, fuck no. Fuck no. But I did realize eventually that sometimes it would be back in the day, marijuana with the Steeds and Sims day, it would come in bales, like literally bales, like, and it would be wrapped in this fucking like green cellophane shit. And, but in large amounts like that, it smells like pine cone, almost like the pine cone, like
Like
car
the air freshener?
filters. Yes. You know what I'm talking? I swear
Yeah,
it
yeah.
does. Or like Christmas trees, like real Christmas trees.
Mm,
So over time, I would be like, that's what's in this load because the whole car would smell like.
just reek.
But he taught me everything that I know to this day, despite what, he became.
So you basically become a courier.
Yeah, I started off as a courier, very much so. I mean, that's how you don't make it. You don't just fucking one day become a kingpin or queenpin. You gotta.
And you're ignorant to his connections and his world. You're just kind of doing what he's telling you.
I mean, I wasn't an idiot. I very much suspected, obviously. Keep in mind as well, he's got like 2 houses in 2 different cities. The houses are full of people who work for Mexicans that are all from not here, and he completely orders them around and like tells them what to do. And I happened to be like a cool asset because I felt so bad there was this Mexican girl, Bianca, who was living in one of his houses with him, or with him actually, I think at the time. And she was pregnant. She was always crying about wanting to go home. but she had to like fulfill her contract with him or something. And she was, and I basically took over her job though. So she didn't really have to do shit for but he still made her stay for like a few months. And her daughter was she would like be on the phone with her daughter and stuff. So at some point in this, I started kicking it with him more and it became like a romantic relationship thing. And yeah, but I'll let you ask your next question.
All right. So you become a courier for this guy.
hmm
Do you start making more money with each time you do it? How often do you do it? That kind
Like I
of
said, it depended on like I think the weight that I
Right.
was bringing back. So yeah, but typically it was like $3,000 to $5,000, which again, this is like 15 years ago. So that's
That was your profit?
more than it sounds just for driving. Period. That's just what I got paid.
It's a fucking great payday.
Cat. That's what I'm saying.
How
Yeah,
far
even now that would be
How
good.
far was Chicago?
6 hours
So basically, for a 6-hour drive, you made it
there and back. You
to-
know, I mean, it's
Nah,
like
but the back doesn't
over
count.
No, the back is what counts. It's the there that doesn't count, motherfucker. Like
You were bringing it back, or you were taking?
I was bringing it back from
Oh, okay,
Chicago.
yeah.
I was going and picking it
So,
up.
yeah,
When I
so,
dropped the
okay.
car off, they were loading the car.
But still, 3,000 to 5,000 for a 12-hour shift.
Yeah, hell yeah, that's great. That's great money. Yeah.
At
Fuck yeah.
19, how old are you? 19?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What is this, weekly?
Like every 2 weeks, every 2, 3 weeks, sometimes more, sometimes less. It just
That's great.
depended. Yeah, it was great. It was great. Yeah. And I had access to all the good Cali exotic weed. So I was smoking good. It was great.
Life was good.
Life was good. But I wanted more, and that's always the problem.
But
And a
that's how
great
it-
story, how
yeah,
it
of course,
starts.
that's how
Because
good
it's
stories
just
start.
never fucking enough, you know?
Did you feel like you always had the innate ambition when you started doing this, or was it when you got a taste of it that you're like, all right, oh, I could do more here?
Like I said, I think the seed was planted unintentionally a long time ago.
Right.
I don't know. I've always thought about this. I'm a very like analytical. I like to psychologically decode and deconstruct things. Like I very much like book smart as much as street smart. Like I enjoy learning, and so I always have been a studier like in my free time, and I've always wondered what the fuck is wrong with me that I always like rooted for the villain in a movie.
You sound like me.
Do you do that? Is it just
Of course
me?
I do
I
that.
don't think I've ever said that out
course.
loud to people, but I've always thought it in my head like what
My
is
fa- my-
not all villains,
My
don't get me
favorite
wrong,
movie
but
is Scarface. I mean, you got to be kidding me. Like,
say hello to my little friend.
it's of course I always rooted for the villain, so I get you. I'm with you.
Yeah, so good times.
I see facets of myself in those people. Anyway, so you're doing this courier thing. It's going
Mhm.
well. Tell me about how long do you do it for, more or less, if you could remember.
Several years.
So you're a courier for a while.
Yeah, I started fucking him sorry, I shouldn't have said it like that. But
say
then we
whatever you want.
started I quit stripping altogether. I was making so much money, and
How
I was
fast?
really enjoying, like I said, that was my first taste of seeing the power. We were going on trips all the time to Chicago, and so I started to see his world and, who he was in it. And I think I was attracted to that,
Mm.
you know, instead of seeing the red flags
Right.
there,
I mean, you're a kid making good money. He's giving you access to this money,
Yeah.
and kind of you're seeing his status within that organization, and so it's seductive. Of
Yeah,
course, as
of
a
course,
young
yeah.
woman, yeah. I mean,
I think there are definitely people that would be like, no, this is a no for me.
yeah, but they're not in that situation,
Yeah.
and they're not young, and they're not like looking to get ahead in life, and
He would have he never would have picked me if,
fair enough.
like you can definitely tell.
All right.
You got to think when you're young, especially as a woman, I always try to get this out now. You're so moldable. I always dated way older than me because I grew up so fast and didn't relate to people my age and what I was driven towards in life. And, now that I'm very well grown, I see in hindsight, and I see it happen over and over again to today. Older men, yeah, I don't care if they're 10 years older, they're 20 years older, 30 years, they, fixate towards younger women. It's not because always like people think like because they're younger or prettier. No, it's because they're moldable. It's a build a bitch
Right.
at that point in time. But all women reach an
Build a bitch.
age that when you get older, you're not tolerating certain shit, and then that's when they
Right.
swap you out, you know? And I was just like,
Yeah.
you
That was
know,
inevitable though, because being in that world, and well, we'll get to that. So let's transition into you're getting into this. You're seeing all this, right? All this movement and all this money, like who this guy is. How does the conversation or the opportunity come up to do more than be a courier? How far into the
oh, that came years later, and it wasn't. n- Okay, no, it did accumulate after that later on. Um, so I ended up having a baby by him when I was 21.
you're still a courier at this point?
No, I'm not currying anymore because now I'm pregnant. No, actually, I'm gonna lie. I'm lying. The last courier job I did, I was pregnant. I was pregnant.
While you were pregnant with you?
Yes,
Okay.
the last one that I did though, I was pregnant. But then,
Did
it
something
was
happen during
too
that job that
risky.
made you want her to stop, or
No,
no?
no, it just was, at that point in time that, I mean, I'm pregnant. I'm not going to keep risking my life while I'm pregnant. You know what I'm saying? And he's not obviously didn't need, he could hire somebody else, it wasn't.
Mm.
And so at some point, I realized when I was pregnant that he was fucking insane, like on a different kind of level insane, like low key, maybe Scarface insane, but in a dangerous way. I had already seen many things that was like, but when you become a mother and you're like thinking, you just start thinking different. I was so young when I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I did, but didn't. I couldn't think intelligently ahead of the consequences. And so we were in California when my daughter was born, spent several months there, but I had like already started planning when I was pregnant. Like I got to get away because he put his hands on me for the first time when I was pregnant, like 8 months, like super pregnant. I thought that was so fucking weird. Like, why the fuck would you do that? Found out way later in years that statistically that's actually how it happens, which is fucking so weird to me, men like that. But I was just, you know, he scared me. I didn't feel comfortable or safe anymore. When I got with him, he gave me that sense of safety that I was looking for and security. I hated dancing so much, and it was just like warm and it was just a fairy tale, and and like at the time, and so I was like, "Fuck this! I'm gonna go back to Kentucky." He had paid for my house here the whole time that we were in California, so I still had a house to go to, but I knew I had to financially break away from him in order to, like, I just knew I had to. And so I went back dancing for a while, for a few years, maybe like 2 or 3 years.
And you're not in the game while you're dancing throughout
But
all
this
that
is
time?
where I started meeting and realizing the networking abilities that I had and with the connections that I had. So, um, then I started, mitigating to him, like, look, give me some of this, and that, and let me see what I can do with it. And that's how it started, was I
Mm.
used my strip club contacts and friendships that I made, or the girls that I was friends with. A lot of strippers and drug dealers. It's a thing. It goes
Yeah,
together.
it goes hand in hand.
Yeah. And so I just started building a network, basically, and
Mm.
the rest is history.
All right. So you go back to this guy. He fronts you some work, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
What do you start? What was your initial, like? Were you testing the waters, or were you like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna do this"? Like, what did you
Well, I
initially?
just had access to so much off I think I started off, 5-10 pounds of weed here and there. He didn't let me like fuck with the, harder cocaine. I mean, we never dealt heroin or fentanyl ever, ever, ever. Okay, that's not. It's one way ticket to hell on that train. My motto has always been, I'm in the business of making money, not murder. I mean, that's just the reality of that shit. Good old school drugs, cocaine and marijuana. Ain't nobody dying off of that. Even meth, those people only kill themselves when they're like mixing substances. I did have a hard time consciously as I became more enveloped in this life, consciously about this right here. About I had to cut off people at times that were friends of mine who bought to sell but were users as well. And I watched the addiction take over and wither away. And I couldn't consciously do it anymore. It makes me emotional to think. I literally had to be like, sometimes I'll just be like, I'm out, I'm off, I'm not working. Because I didn't know how to tell them to their face, like, you need to go to rehab. Like, but I did struggle and I had to just ingrain in my brain over time, like, I'm not forcing nothing down nobody's throat or
Yeah, but they have
whatever.
access to it because of you, so I get it. That's where the whole conscious, like,
Yeah.
attack of conscious comes
Yeah.
from.
30s was I ended up getting a different plug than him after some point in time that I had enough connections and I didn't want to deal with him or
Right,
tell
but
him.
you're still dealing weed at this point.
Yeah, I've always dealt weed. I've always dealt weed and
Right, but I'm saying
intermixed
at
it.
that specific
Oh, at
point,
this time, yes, that's where I was starting off. That's where I started off, was dealing weed. And then
and you stayed consistent, like 5 to 10 pounds
yeah, oh, easy.
every few
Yeah.
weeks or every couple weeks.
A week,
Oh, okay.
a week easily. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, is this still when weed wasn't like legal in most places?
Yeah.
Okay, so weed was
Hmm.
profitable.
And
Like,
then started getting the better quality weed from
mm,
California that was, so expensive. So I
right.
had like niche white boys that were like preppy college white boys that wanted, but they could sell the fuck out of some weed. But they're like fraternity boys and or the undercover hippie guy, one of my best friends. I'm not gonna say his name, but he really helped me get moving with the
Mm.
weed, a white boy. Mm.
Are you wholesaling or do you break down at that point?
I've always been wholesaler, honestly.
Mm.
I always had that mentality because of the risk assessment, for one. You get all your money up front, your profit up front. I've never did much of anything in in zips and stuff. Like, I don't even know how to mathematically compute that. Yeah.
Was everything on consignment at that point,
No.
or you
Oh,
paid?
for me?
Yeah,
Um, no, at different time with the cartel, everything's on consignment. But no, at this time I had,
pay
profited
for it.
so much money that, yeah, when I had the pill mills run, everything was upfront cash with that, and with the 30s and those days, those were the days. You hear me?
You're pushing 5 to 10 pounds a week. What are you profiting? Like, what do you get them for? What do you get rid of
Back
them for?
then, it's so hard to say. I've moved so much drugs, Nelson. Like, I honestly don't know. I can't tell you. I couldn't tell
Security.
you what the prices were. This is 10 plus years ago.
Mm.
I'm not
You're
sure.
making way more than you were as a courier, I'm assuming.
I probably know. I was making more as a couriers always make the most money.
Really?
Even today, you know how much a semi truck courier makes?
Um,
$1,000 a key. And you gotta think, you're not putting
that's,
shit on a fucking semi truck that's fucking.
yeah, most definitely, right?
I mean, you especially if you start from down south, you got at least 100 bricks on that bitch. Most of the time, like 3 to where you're going, and then there's the in between couriers who are moving, like dropping
Yeah.
off 20 to me in this city, then dropping off 30 in Atlanta. I used to literally, when I would get 30 brick loads brought into here, and used to pay them $35,000. Would have to give them the cash.
I mean,
Isn't
hey,
that crazy?
definitely should have stayed being a courier.
I only learned that number like maybe not long ago when I was in Mexico and for a meeting. I was like, "What the fuck do you mean? I'm in the wrong business. I'm about to get a CDL." I swear to God, I was my friend a guy who
Let
works
me
for me in
downgrade.
Louisville. We were about to invest in a semi truck and his cousin has a CDL. And I was so dead serious. I was like, "This is the wrong line of work." Because what the fuck do you mean? It's just yeah.
So when does the opportunity or the transition come up? So let me start with this. So you were a courier for several years. You stop when you're pregnant. You go back to dancing. You start kind of doing this on your own with your own
Hmm.
connections, all that. So how long until the conversation of
Till
pushing?
I got to
No, of pushing something besides weed. Like how long did that take?
with the cartel or in general. So what happened was basically built my own pipeline and network
Right.
up, from here down, south, up north, whatever, all my cities that I work in. And, and in between life, I'm always thinking of this as I'm traveling where, like I have a knack. I'm telling you, put me in any club, major club in a city anywhere in the world, and the fucking biggest drug dealer in the world is going to find me. I swear to God, it should be studied. So I just made a lot of friends, a lot of people, a lot of men that are higher in the food chain prefer to deal with a woman, because it feels safer, I think, to them. Like, it feels more trustworthy than when you're dealing
Definitely
with
less
so much money and so much.
feels less threatening. I can see
Yeah, so
that.
I guess on the scale. So, um, so I had established, my network and pipeline, and me and my now BD eventually, formed a working relationship. And so, we worked together as well, but was sovereign as from each other as well. And I guess when I got pregnant with my second daughter is when I really started moving heavy and hard drugs. That was the one and only time I ever considered moving. This is when heroin was real heroin. One time, her dad, who's in prison now, was big time with that lane. And I've always been like super prideful. I'd rather work for, my own money than be like, give me a handout type of. But I remember he gave me like 8 ounces of heroin and was like, here, make you some money off of it. There, it's only 2,200 a zip. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm 22 years old, 22, 23 years old. And I'm like, oh, okay. I through the grapevine knew some customers from and out of that were country, but of course they are users as well. I thought they died in my car, and I was gonna have to be one of those people that push people out on the side of the road. I understood why that happened now. When people are like, we found an OD on the side of the road somewhere, because they always wanted to try it. And I'm like, bitch, it's the same shit you just tried. What do you mean you want to try it? And they wanted to, to this day, this is the only time in life I've ever seen people shoot up. Like, I so very separate my life. And when you're a wholesaler, you don't so much have to see all the nitty gritty addict shit. In a Kroger parking lot, I swear to God. And again, I'm like, man, this is the same shit I just gave y'all. I was a guy and a girl couple the other day. Like, what do you need to fucking, man, we gotta try it. And this had not happened the other like few times I dealt with them. They both slump. And I'm like shitting bricks. Do you hear me? I'm like, oh my God, they're dead. They're dead. I ki- I'm like, what am I mean, I don't know how much time passed because I was literally just thinking of what the fuck to do when the guy finally they started coming to, and I'm like, he was like, "It's all right, man." I said, "It's all right. It's all right. You just died in my car." But I said, either buy this shit and get the fuck out of my car or don't, but get the fuck out of my car. And they bought it all. I remember I had whatever I had left, I took it back to his house. I was like, "You can have this shit. This is not for me." Like, no. And I couldn't sell his cocaine because he cut it too much. It was, yeah.
Mm.
And so
So the was it
that's when I got into the 30s and started making people. I had like 6 people that all went to Florida and got scripts of 30s and
ha
Xanaxes.
okay,
So that was my next venture. And that's
and that was
really
totally
when
separate. That
this
was
is,
like you on your own.
yeah, it had nothing to do with no Mexicans or nothing like that.
Okay,
That is when I really started stacking money, like had money, just money, you know what I'm saying?
what
Like,
gave you the idea? Because that's a big transition.
because
Like
everybody was on pills back then. What do you mean? It was like it was
heavy
crazy.
the
This
pill
was
mill.
was the beginning of the epidemic, And
That's right, because all the guys came to Florida from Kentucky. I remember this stuff. Yes.
so, but I knew I had the immediate client perfect for this because I sold this old guy in a little, we'll say a holler town, but he ran the whole eastern Kentucky basically, like all the country counties. It's like he cool asshole. Right? I love him to death to this day. My peoples, if you see this, he's getting out like right now. He's just did like 6 years. Um, And he didn't tell on me, and he could have. And the authorities down there were like, some bitch is bringing all the drugs in down this county, a stripper bitch. I don't know why they was calling me a stripper. I wasn't even a stripper then. Thank
Retired.
you.
Retired.
Retired, yeah. And but I sold him the weed from back in the day, the bail weed, and they loved that shit in the country, and he would buy like 5, 10, 50, whatever I had in stock. He would be like, just bring it on down, cash money, cash money. But I would note, I'm like, he had different locations, but they're called haulers. And if you know what a hauler is, it's like a trailer up a little mountain crevice thing. It would look like a McDonald's when I would come down there sometimes. I swear to God on everything. And I was like, what the fuck is this? What are you? And people would walk up to him and he'd pull this little bottle of pills out of his jacket. And I was like, he's like, if you can get me these, darling, I'll give you $30 a piece. Okay. So I say less. I started looking into it, So I'm like, most of the time junkies, you only got to pay them like, 15 of the screen, whatever. I started off generous and then became a baron, like, this is all you're getting, bitch, da, da, da. And yeah, so that really got me up financially, like from weed, because you can only make so much money with weed
Hmm.
on a fast scale. Weed's slow money.
How many pills are you bringing back when you send the guys down for a run to Florida?
It depended on how many people went down, but every week we were doing 500 to 1,000 30s and like 3,000 yellow bars, green bars, white bars. This is back when bars. My dude who went down there for me, he had a plug on the Xanax down there. I don't know through who, but they were real pharmacy ones, but they would come in 1,000 packs, like already zipped and sorted out. 1,000 packs. We both really got ahead with that venture. He used to be like, I'm not gonna say his name either, but he's like a rapper dude. And he used to be like, man, I brag about you all the time because we was getting so much money. Like he probably could have just dealt with me and not nobody
You
else.
were still wholesaling at this point. That was
Yeah,
always
this is wholesaling. I'm still getting weed from dude.
right.
Yeah, but the money is in the 30s and yeah, and in the pills at the time, period.
Hmm.
Period.
How profitable? Like, what do you remember? I know it was a long time ago, but
Oh, I mean, I'm making like $6,000 or $7,000 a week back then. That's easier to
it's a big difference from
remember. Yeah, definitely. It was always more and more and more, and I definitely take accountability of myself, and my greed has,
I mean, that's typical drug dealer shit. That's
it's a mentality that you don't, but my intentions were always good of why I wanted to make the money. I took care of I took care of my family, like I only ever wanted to do it to then, at this point I have 2 kids. I wanted them to live in the best neighborhoods and have the best clothes, best everything. And they did, go on trip. I wanted them to have like the best life. They were never exposed to, they didn't even know what a fucking drug was, until like this case happened that's not familiar to them at all. I very, very much separated my home life from, who I really was. You have to make it to a certain degree and certain level. And I've watched it time and again. And that's one of the reasons why me and him didn't see eye to eye and get along. Because one time we were in Cali and was fucking buying a Maserati at a fucking car lot and with cash. And he had like his brother bring the money in and be like, I won it gambling. I'm like, let's take this fucking 90 bands and go buy a house. Like I was always looking at the longevity and up for the kids, or that way if something happened to you, we still have like this house and my name, like. And no, he was a very much fly the baddest bitches in the world across the country to come party for the weekend. And like, and you just see that mentality a lot with drug dealers in general at a certain level and get shit. Even the ones that are not at that level, try to look like they are.
I mean, you never respect, as humans, we don't respect things that come easily. So when money comes fast, you blow it even
That
faster.
I don't think everybody. I think some
The
people
majority.
respect what.
The
The
majority.
majority for sure. Because I definitely know some people who take a handout in a heartbeat.
Well, you know,
I always say that like people be looking for a handout instead of a hustle. And
But that's
I
what
know,
I'm
yeah.
saying. That when you get money for free like that, like you're not gonna value it. You know, that's the downfall we all have in the whenever we break the law. Like you have this plan for this money, but it just keeps coming in. It keeps coming in, and it's like there's no end to it. So you at some point you don't appreciate it anymore. It's like I'll get
Mm,
more next week. Okay, I'll spend money
yeah,
on
to a
this. And
degree, yeah. To a degree, you don't appreciate, but I always was very much invested in assets, and
mm,
I bought racehorses for my grandfather to. I started a spa. I was always my whole goal and end game was to make another legal venture successful enough that I could get
mm,
out. And I took, I would have enough money to take breaks for a year and a half or something at times. That is where the real addiction shows itself because it's so boring. It's like a high getting away with everything that I was getting away with. It's like it's an adrenaline rush. Like it's
that like no one has ever
the
experienced.
because
Yep.
even down to like my mom and my sisters used to be like, "What the fuck is wrong with you? Aren't you scared going to Mexico by yourself to have meetings? What do you mean? Like, are you not?" And yes, I was very scared. One time I was,
Right, but the excitement
but the
outweighs
excitement,
the
it's like a
yeah.
drug that you can't buy, man.
Seriously, seriously,
Seriously.
for
That's what
real.
it is. Because yeah, I am scared, but am I still gonna do it? Yeah.
It's like
Sure.
jumping out of an
Sure
airplane or
am.
bungee jumping or some shit.
Yeah.
It's
Mm-hmm.
crazy. All right, so you're killing it with these pill mills. You're bringing all these pills back
Yeah,
to
that's boring.
Kentucky.
That's the boring part of the story.
I know, but we're getting there. We're getting there. Um, how long is your run in there in that part of until they converted the oxys to gel and all that shit? Is that like how long?
No, I had got in the pill game so late. It was like 2 years maybe. It wasn't super long.
Mm,
Um, they started shutting down the pill mills
yeah.
and stuff. Like, I mean, already while you had to go to Florida, they had already like started doing it. But
Started cracking down.
but
What's your
what
thoughts at this
happened?
point? Once the pill mills start ramping down and like the money slows down a bit, what's your thought process? Are you immediately thinking of like something else to push?
I had a lot of money stashed and saved up. I didn't even quit because of that. I had my second daughter during this time. Fun fact: people on drugs do not give a fuck if you're having a baby. I had to send my mom. I had to pay my mom to go drop off a load. Fucking while I was in the hospital with my daughter, my people they're like FaceTiming me like, "Do we got a baby yet? Awesome, we need you." I'll never forget that. And my mom, I paid her $500 to drive like an hour to go drop this stuff off. And this bitch has $30,000 of my money that she picked up, 30 grand. And she's like, uh, I had just came home from the hospital and she was like, I'm like, where are you at? She's like, I'm at my house. I don't trust this bitch as far as I can see her. Okay. For one, it was a mutual transaction. I was like, excuse me, like you gonna have to drive the next 15 minutes to run me my money. She's like, what the fuck do you mean? I just drove 2 hours for you and I paid you and I need you. The next day she would have been like, I got robbed. These motherfuckers ran up in my house. I don't know where
Yeah,
it,
fuck.
I swear to God, that's what would have happened you don't understand. One time ever, it was a short on pills. Some dude she was fucking with was like, oh, I got the 30s right now. It was like drought. They were faker than a $2 bill. It was only like, it was 100 for $2,400 or something like that. They was all fake. I was so fucking mad. I was like, this is exactly like you and your standards of the people that you hang out with.
All right, so the pill mills start coming down. What's your strategy? Like, what's your thought process? What do you start doing?
So I just was like, I have X amount of dollars and I moved to California. I moved back to California with the kids and I was going to try to be normal very briefly because it just never works out with.
How many times do you take those breaks throughout your career? Like those 1 year, 18-month
It's not
breaks?
always a year exactly. It might
But whatever.
be
How many
6 months.
breaks did you take?
In the last decade, you want to say maybe 3 times
Mm.
for real, like long
So you
term.
legit tried to be a normal person several times.
I fucking tried. It's just not meant for me.
All right, guys, taking a quick break from the podcast to talk to you about Gus Villa Jewelry. Yo, let's be real here for a second. If you're rocking plain jewelry in Miami, of all places, you are doing it 100% wrong, my boy. Step your game up with Gus Villa Jewelry, the plug for real Cuban link gold and silver chains. And of course, the cleanest Rolexes in all of Miami. This isn't factory made or watered down or any of that stuff. This is high quality custom handmade stuff that shines from here to the moon. It turns heads, starts conversations, and makes you look fresh. Gus has something that'll level up your whole vibe. And because you're locked in here with us at Honor Among Thieves podcast, you're getting a hookup. Use the promo code Montana at checkout. Get 5% off your entire order. That's right, 5% off. Go check them out at gusvillajewelry.com or pull up on them in the Diamond District down here in downtown Miami. gusvillajewelry.com. Again, that's gusvillajewelry.com. And tell them your boy Montana sent you. Gus Villa Jewelry. Now back to the podcast. Kept calling back. So you go. All right. So you go to California. You try to be a normal person. You're with your kids.
I was teaching at a private school in Laguna
Really?
Beach. Fun fact.
You were a teacher.
Yes,
Okay.
I was. And
Okay.
I had gotten an associate's degree when I was pregnant online through a testing college. But and so they were paying for me to like get my like full rest of
Bachelor's degree, yeah.
schooling, but I was working there as like an assistant teacher as well. And my baby daddy, his family was helping me with the kids and stuff. We were not together, you know, but one day I came home from work. We had to pick up a student. It was a private school. They gave you gas cards and stuff, and you had to pick a student up on the way to work and drop one off, sometimes two on the way back. And the schedule would be different, you know, because there wasn't a bus system. And it was worth it for the gas in California, let me tell you, mind you. And but it wasn't enough money, you know, like long term wise and what rent was and for the so I just liked to work at the time, especially. So I was like picking up a bartending job in downtown Fullerton on the weekends, and I had told my baby daddy this, and he went ballistic and was like, "I went to school in Fullerton. You're gonna be down there trying to be cute and fuck my football mates and da 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 da." Like, you're right. That's definitely all the people in California are definitely gonna run into all that. And it was just exhausting. And then one day I came home from work and it was like 5 o'clock, 4 or 5 in the afternoon. And he comes in and is like, I swear to God, I was like, what the fuck is my life? He said, "You had this many miles on your car when you left for work this morning. Your job is 35 miles away, and you have this many miles now getting back. The fuck have you been at? My mom's not babysitting these kids for you to be, you know, out here fucking." Like, it was always fucking. And I was like, dude is fucking insane. And he, you know, I realized it didn't matter if we were together or not. Like, he just being in the same vicinity, like, he just wouldn't let me, he just will not, he won't let me live. And it was just getting dangerous physically again. And I didn't want my kids seeing that. And one time I had my baby had walked out and he was putting his hands on me and I picked her up and was like, "Please don't do this in front of her." And he grabbed me by my neck and choked me and threw me against the wall while I was holding her. And I was just like, absolutely not. We're not going to do this. You know, is this Wyclef and Mary J right now? Because I'm going to end up, he's going to kill me or I'm going to kill him, like dead ass. And it was so bad. I had to like leave almost everything in California. I like snuck over the course of a week, like all the important shit in the trunk of my like BMW, little 325 BMW, not a big one, mind you, like to fit a whole lot of stuff, like birth certificates and like basic like clothes and shit that he wouldn't notice was gone. And somebody flew out and I picked him up at the airport when I was supposed to be at work. I had called in and I said that the kids had dentist appointments after school and I picked them up and we just never came back and drove back across the country back to Kentucky.
At this point, did all like money you had stashed and that kind of stuff, is that all gone?
For the most part, yeah. It was by the time I got back here and like
So,
rented a townhouse and stuff, yeah, I was broke.
so you're basically starting your life over
Yeah.
again. Okay.
I don't give a fuck to start over, honey. I'm always gonna make some shit shake. That's not, I'm one person, that don't bother me. Throw it away, throw all that shit away, leave it. Uh, yeah. Material things come and go. It's not even what it's really
I mean,
about.
that's innate in your story.
Yeah. So
Drug
I've
dealers.
started over so many
Drug
times.
dealers are big risk takers. I mean,
Yeah.
it is what it is. So if I have to go somewhere and start over, who cares? I'll figure out a way.
Yeah.
It's all right. So you get back. Are you getting back in the game? You're like, I'm getting back. Like
Oh, yeah.
you're like that was a
Yeah.
mindset.
The whole thing, the whole shebang. I even went back and danced for like a month or something like that I had so many like regulars like in life of general. To this day, I have two like lifer regulars that could help me with anything, any drop of a phone call.
Hmm. All right. So
I'm gonna hit my vape. I'm so sorry. I'm about to die.
yeah, go ahead.
Okay, my
You're good.
anxiety.
So you get back. You're like, all right, I'm gonna get back in the game. Instinctually, you go back to dancing just to meet people again.
No, because I was broke. I went
Oh,
back to
okay.
dancing because I came back, lived
You
with
had no money. Yeah.
stayed with my best friend for like a week, and she was like, "You can stay till
So you're,
That's just not my style and personality. So I was like, "Fuck this." I had a whole townhouse subdivision jump. It turned a whole luxury townhouse subdivision into a trap park parlay center on accident. Really, the landlord was so ghetto. He was like I don't even know what to say of Duran. Fuck you, Duran, because you owe me money. He stole like $2,400 from me a few months ago. Actually, fuck you. Um, because I was gonna move back to Lexington, and he built these new luxury townhouses. But anyways, that's beside the point. He was just cool, and rent was high. This was high back then. Those were like 12 and $1,400 10, 12 years ago, which was high back then. Now that's you can't even find anything for that much, that cheap. I had everybody, like all my like stripper friends with drug dealer boyfriends. So everybody moved in over there before I mean, that place has been on TV so many times now they ended up selling it a few years ago and not renting them out no more. Nothing. It was so bad. But we had a ball over there. Do you hear me? A blast. I'm like, yeah, balls to the wall. I went back dancing just to get some money up. I hate to be broke. It's the worst. And
you and I
was
have
like,
that in
what's my
common.
next move? And I guess at that point, at some time not too long after
After you
the
get back.
baby daddy, he, he's all over the place, all over the country, all the time in different places and cities that he worked at, Texas, all the different places. And I don't know what point we came cool again, but and I think sometimes he needed to get shit going money wise for him. And he finally just was like, fuck it, fucking Blake. I know she's got I need some quick money. And so, yeah, we
Jump back
started
into it.
working again. But, the cocaine became, I just, I was tired of the weed. Weed is slow money. I mean, there's been times I have 100, 200 pounds of weed, and it's just not enough for me because it's just not, I don't know. The thrill is addicting. I just like it. Very much enjoy the lifestyle. I don't know.
Hmm.
The way that I built it for me personally. I wouldn't like it if I was, in the trap on the corner,
Hmm.
doing it that way, but I like the experience.
So
And
once he contacts you and you guys decide to do this again, do you go back to your old network? Like, hey, yo, let's go.
yeah, he just was the plug for,
Right.
for this point. And so up to this point until things switched, 6 years, some years back where you know, he kept me very sheltered, even though I knew everybody had, very, very up close and personal experiences, bond who's who, their person, of, this network in a more intimate way at this point in time. He's very much kept me sheltered and separated from I mean, just the little bit I've told you, you see how controlling he was and crazy about me, anything to do with me. Anyways, when I was young, I didn't understand why he didn't trust anybody and why he was so accusatory. And I do now, not in the sense that you think though. When you're that person really on the inside, when you are the one that can't be trusted, when you are the one who will cut somebody's throat at whatever cost of your own, you can't trust people. But I saw it as uh, at the time, like, I can fix you, I can show you, like that I'm loyal enough and trustworthy enough, that not all people are bad, because I was thinking it from the wrong perspective then, that, he had been fucked over, he had been hurt so many times in life, is why he was the way that he was, because of this story he told me of his football roommate stealing $100,000 from him and him owing that to the cartel when he was young. And I thought that's like where it originated from and started from. But, people are very layered and very, internally, I guess you never really know somebody until you do.
So this section or this part of your story where you decide to work together again with him, and this time you guys are pushing pretty much straight coke. Um, what?
Then it becomes pivotal. Yeah.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, how long is that little piece until you kind of break off from him? How long did that last?
Well, I have to tell the story of how I broke off him because that's what changed things.
Right. Okay. So
So, this is a couple, maybe 2 or 3
couple
more
years.
years,
Okay. And
of
money's coming in. Like things are
okay,
work
this is where the issue was. Yeah, money was coming in, but I wasn't making shit for the risk.
for the
We would
amount of
have
risk. I
argue.
get you. All right.
This motherfucker was charging me like 26 to $28,000 a brick of cocaine, which is crazy. At this time, I could sell them for 30 to 32,000 a brick back then.
You're still making like 7,000 a brick, but hey.
At 28,000, I'm
Right.
making 2,000 a brick if I let him. He wanted speedy, not greedy is the motto. Let him go, So yeah, if I, quarter bricked him out or something, I would make a little bit more. But $2,000 for the risk that I'm taking? Are you
Yeah.
fucking kidding me? And I'm sitting on like 5 to 10 bricks in my space at all times. Are you fucking kidding me? That's not no money. That's not worth it. I've made far more for far less. It was bullshit. It was garbage, but I tolerated it. And I always wanted to maintain the relationship with my daughter. And when we are working together, she gets to see more of him at the time and more of him here. Like when business was really good, he would, keep a house here, and even though he'd be here for, a month or two and then gone for a month or two. And then it still just was better we very much played house, even with my youngest daughter because her dad went to jail when she was like 6 months old. And I liked the dynamic.
So what happened that you wanted to break off from him? How'd that come up?
How it came up was so this is like maybe during COVID, mid COVID, shit still halfway shut down, we're making a ton of money because of COVID, and the prices are jacked up. And it wasn't because shit was stopped from coming in like people like to think. No. If you were smart, you sat on shit for a while and let the prices go up. But what happened was $100,000 came up missing out of what we owed basically to
Mm.
it. I've always had a very strong intuition. It's how I made it so far, truly, with people, reading situations. Like I just always could feel when something was not right or I needed to disappear. And my girlfriend at the time, a lot of her people worked for, I would plug them. And this one guy, her cousin, literally a week before this happened, I had a bad feeling. He was taking too long on a brick I fronted him. And I know for a fact, dude has money, tons of money, because he had a wreck settlement. So he has stupid money from that. I don't even know why he was selling drugs to begin with. He just liked it too. And, my rule at this point in time in my career, after the heroin thing, nobody who I worked with could sell heroin. Or I would tell everybody, like, first of all, it's greedy. I know how much money you're making. Like, but you cannot fuck with me and be fucking with that. Like, it's just a one-way ticket to prison or to death. And unbeknownst to me, he was dealing with it. But I had a bad feeling about this and was like, hey, man, I got to cash out my people. Give me whatever cash you have and whatever work you have back. So he had brought back the work and the money. And I think he owed me $11,000 left that he was like, I'll get to you, which again, annoying because when he got busted, set up by this bitch selling fentanyl, she set him up. I guess she had got, caught. She was out of like Dayton, Ohio. And why he was buying fentanyl, I'll never understand it, but he got rolled, set up. And this is all right after this is when the money comes up missing. Pissed, he's blaming me. And I'm like, no, I didn't, the whole thing was weird. I still don't know the whole story, like, of where this came up, the $100,000. But he's pissed. He leaves and then he calls me. He's in Mexico at our boss's house. And he's like, yo, you got to get a fucking flight right now. You got to come out here and explain this shit of what's going on. It had been like maybe like 2 or 3 months at this point. And he's blaming it on dude that got locked up. He's like, he got locked up because the rules are with the cartel, if something happens and you have paperwork, the debt gets written off. But like, if I get robbed tomorrow for 50 grand or 500 grand, oh, nah, bitch, you owe that. You gotta come up. That's not our problem. That's a you problem. And we want our money. We don't give a fuck. And I'm like, oh shit. This is the first time I've ever had to go to a meeting in Mexico. What do you mean? So the gods were shining upon me because in this travel period, from that day to like within a week, I was in Mexico. And he had to be his typical fashion. Don't be fucking looking cute when you come down here. Da, 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 like crazy behavior. He was mad I wore jean shorts and like a cute top. It was 100 degrees in that motherfucker. He was mad. And this is, again, the first time I ever got to go down there. But I knew our boss because he used to run a section of the country in the country before he got so big that he could go back, I guess, down there. And, I had to like leave my phone at the hotel. I'm like at the Rui Hotel, however you say that. And you have to leave your fucking phone at the hotel, like a whole thing. We pulled to this big glass mansion. Well, I didn't have my phone, but Google still exists. And so it's just me, him, and our boss in the meeting. And I'm explaining to him, and he knew me and knew him, and he knew how he treated me. I almost said his name. He has seen in person how he has treated me, and one time in Chicago, he like accused like his cousin of looking at me or something and like went insane. He was like all coked out and everybody was there and had to like calm him down. It was fucked up. And so I'm like in tears, like, listen, just can you look this up? The discovery came out on Pacer that corroborated everything that I said. How much money was in his safe? He got caught with no work from us. It was nothing to do with us. There was no cocaine. He got caught being greedy, fucking with fentanyl. I admitted how much money he actually owed me and was like, I have no problem paying that off, da 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 da. And yeah, dude was pissed. My baby dad was pissed about that because it made him look bad. And but it ended up being cool because it did like fix our situation for the time being or whatever, because there was like $90,000 in the safe. So it could be written off either way, regardless of the truth of what happened, if that makes sense. He could explain to his boss, like, look, here's the discovery. The money was there. They were telling the truth. So it did work out in a weird way. But after that, when I came back, I don't know how he even got my number, actually, in hindsight, but our boss directly contacted me and was like, hey, I need somebody that I can trust where you are. I can't work with him anymore. It's always problems, like that's my friend. I love him to death, but he's just violent. He's a violent fuck. Like he is just, one time he stabbed somebody in the club in Chicago. He literally ran over to me in our section and throws me his Louis Vuitton wallet and is like, hold this real quick. Next thing I know, the whole club is turned up, and he stabbed somebody. I was like 19 when this happened. That should have been a red flag. I should have ran at this point. And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm about to be stuck in this city. Don't know any. It's like when I first started getting brought around. And oh no, the sheriffs escorted him and our whole clique outside and put us in taxis. No one went to jail. I was like,
You got lucky there.
I
So
mean, because they were paid off. It's so corrupt
so
there.
you knew this guy from when he lived in the United States. At some point, he relocated to Mexico.
He was,
For how
yeah.
much he was able to do for the
He
cartel?
yeah, he was
Okay.
promoted. You know, he
So
stayed
he was
here.
like directly under the top, the
Yeah,
head of the
yes, at
cartel.
this point, he worked his way up to, you know, in
So
his
you're
life.
talking about like a big guy, like a guy who had
Yeah,
immense.
as big a second tier. Yeah.
Okay. And this guy already knew you, but not on that level yet. But he knew what you could do.
Yeah, me and my baby daddy's working relationship, and he knew a lot of the profit and money that he was bringing for years was really me moving
You
it though. And
okay?
that is something that always bothered me was like, yeah, he got so much credit, like he was this, you know, for my pipeline, you know, that I created from scratch, you know, because his people who did used to make a fuck ton of money, you know, got sloppy, and then dude wanted out, and like he fucking like busted up dude's house fucking with a golf club, and he just is he's not good to work with. Problems happen in this business. I always made people understand who work for me like, look, if there's a problem, just fucking tell me, you know? Tell me and we will work it out, you know? And I also, you know, let them, if you fuck me, it's not going to be me that comes for you. You know, like I always wanted things to be clear. I never had no problems ever until, you know, all this happened. I mean, it still wasn't with anybody to do with me. I never had problems. I got, you know, stiffed, you know, so like here and there for minuscule money to me in the grand scheme of things. And, you know, I ruined their reputation and made it where they would never, you know, took their street cred, made it where nobody would deal with them. But, you know, I never had to like send nobody in. I know, you know, like it was very fucking smooth, you know, like very
Mm.
smooth for me. And how I intricately, you know, built my,
So over the next, I would assume you and the your now boss, you guys moving forward, since you're working directly with him, you guys build a good working relationship. There's years of like where you do a ton of business together. So you got to know him pretty well, I'm assuming.
yeah, I got to know him. I respect him a lot and his thinking and logic. People have such a
Misconception. Yeah, yeah.
misconception, you know,
Of
of
like people in
how
this line of
things
work.
really are
Yeah.
because they just see like the news and the TV. And yet, granted, yes, that is all very real and a Mexico problem, the war and the violence and the things that have came from especially the early days of the cartel and, you know, the Tijuana, Baja California, the different leaders who ran different
Mm.
major organizations. Definitely there was
But it's not
bloodier
all like
times.
it's
But
not all
no,
like
it's
that. Yeah.
not like that for me at least personally, my personal experience. I won't say it's not like that, but for my personal experience,
Mm.
no, you know, I might be a lucky one. I don't know, but
So let's pause here for a second before we keep going in the story. So from a hierarchy perspective, you were 2 degrees away from the head of a cartel.
yeah, set by final point. Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
And it blows my mind the shock of this because it's so normal for me. Like when you know, I got technically what I'm charged for is the possession of 10 keys, right? That is so little work. It was a holdover. You know, I literally just had that to hold over until my next semi truck came. And I'm so jaded and it fucks me up
Yeah,
still.
but that's
When the
the irony of
fucking
these stories. That's how they.
I'm like, it's just 10 keys. And they're
So
like, bitch, we don't get this around here a lot at all.
so your contact, your boss, and then the head of the cartel.
Yeah. And at this
That's
point in my career, I'm like frequently, like every couple months, going to Jalisco or Mexico City for in-person meetings. That was really the annoying part about it because fucking they won't do anything on the phone. No FaceTime, any like literally like conversations that seem so stupid to us that we needed to have would be like, come see me. I'd be like, God damn, I gotta fucking
So
travel again.
are cartels as big and powerful as we paint them out to be?
Oh
Like,
yeah, I would be scared and fascinated when I was over there at the same time, simultaneously amazed and bewildered and terrified that at any time we literally like the police. One time we were in like this little town and we were traveling for business meetings in Mexico and we parked someplace fucked up or whatever, leaving this restaurant and the police were all sitting on a thing and they like gave respects and they're like they won't fuck with this truck because it's a narco truck. One time I'm on the way to the airport.
the cops wouldn't fuck with the truck
Yeah,
'cause it
because
was
certain trucks they call them narco trucks. They
so they
know
just
that.
don't touch them.
Yeah, no. And then one time I thought it was OV. Okay, I swear to God, I have cold chills talking about this. We're on the way to the airport and we're like in a convoy of black SUV trucks, like uber black, like this. And I'm in the back seat with another dude, and there's two up front, and they're passing a fucking ounce of wash around. Wash is like the purest, best Coke ever. It looks like baby powder, and they like make it in like strawberry and peach and flavors, and it's the best cocaine ever. If you fucking, um, I didn't do cocaine by the time. I'm at this level. I didn't, when I was young, I liked to, party, and me and my baby daddy definitely went on binges, but I had outgrown the, you know, novelty of it at this point. And they're passing around this fucking ounce of wash, taking bumps. It was me and the dude that were about to go on a flight. And all these fucking cops fucking fly around us with their lights on. And in Mexico, the cops drive trucks and they stand in the back of the truck with like AR, AK, just literally if when you fly into fucking the airport, they're all in the airport outside of it
fucking
with
machine guns.
fucking like military grade weapons. It's crazy. Crazy. And I was like, "Oh my God, the federales are busting us or something." And I'm like, I'm speechless. Like, but somebody noticed, they all start cracking up laughing, and they're like, "No, it's an escort," because we were running late for the airport.
Wait. The cops escorted you
Yes,
guys?
bitch. Yes, I could not make this shit up. They were escorting us because we were super late for our flight, and somebody had put in. I don't even know how it happened. Like somebody put in a call and had them escort
Fucking
us.
cops
I
escorted the
swear to
narcos?
God, God struck
That's
me
funny.
dead. I was like, "What the fuck is this?"
That's hardcore.
Super, yeah. It's fascinating, like
It's a
it's
fascinating
it
world.
is
Yeah.
it is just
It's different from like
exhilarating in a different
America
way.
is known as the land of law and order, and like we're
Yeah.
different from other countries. So when you get a taste of like that other world and
Yeah.
on another place, and it's like, no, bitch, the gangsters run this place, like for real.
Yeah, for
You
real.
know,
No,
like-
like I mean, you're treated. I mean, I don't know. It's like you have a fucking something on your forehead everywhere you go with them. That everywhere you go is special treatment. Private rooms at restaurants. We'll sit for hours at restaurants.
So everywhere he
Just
went, people know who this guy is.
Everywhere. Yeah, it's everywhere.
No.
It was fun. I'm not gonna lie. It was like living in my own movie. I'm not gonna lie.
All right.
But I would still be scared at the same time. Like fuck, like all the enemies that you acquire in
Of
this,
course.
especially over there. I would be so scared that,
Yeah, and over there it's like the
or
Wild
that
West,
I
it's
would
different.
I'd be the bitch that gets kidnapped and they're like calling for ransom, because we got your pretty fucking bitch over here, and they would
Nah,
just
but
let
if
me
you're
die.
riding with him, you're good. I think for the most part, it's if
Yeah.
you're riding around on your own or something. That's where you got.
Yeah.
All right, so you cut out the middleman. You're dealing directly with.
Let me tell you too.
Yeah.
This was the biggest shocker. I didn't tell you this. After he calls me and is like, I need somebody that I can trust after that meeting. And then I had to fly back and go see him by myself. Get back. I'm talking like less than a week. He's like, go to pick this up or whatever. He's like, do you want to start now? You can go pick something up from somebody and then the next time it'll come on a truck. Just gives me a cool off the ribble 20 bricks, just mine, which I held weight, before, never more than 10 keys, but of my baby daddy's, and and he would like come count inventory on me. Fucking asshole. I hated him. And I told you the price that he was giving it to me
Right.
for
Nah,
at the time.
now you got the source. So I'm
Yeah,
sure.
but he didn't I guess I didn't misunderstood the number that he was giving me, or we didn't like specifically say. I thought he had said, because I had to, when I started working for them, I had to pay 1,000 extra on each brick to pay off of some of my baby daddy's debt. That was part of the agreement. And he would deny this to the end of the world, that I would do something out of my heart for him, or that he even owed them. No, they owe me money. No, but that's why they were done with him, because he fucked up money all that time for years. Like, verbatim, he fucking owed them like $500,000
What kept them before?
because
What kept him safe?
he has a niche quality about him that is useful to them in the violence factor.
Hmm.
If that makes sense. Let me put it
So
this way. He should have been a mercenary type
like a Sicario
position
type guy.
than a boss. That's what he was, really, but he wanted to be a boss, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
He was very good at that type of stuff, think bag over the head or poof, you're gone.
Yeah.
That's yeah. But then he has like PTSD from it too, and he's fucking crazy. And I'm like, dude, like you need to go to therapy, because you clearly are reliving this shit that you've done,
Right.
And I'm so serious.
So
Let me tell you this. I'm not gonna say that, but this is an interesting factor, and it always scared me. The islands. There is some island zone somewhere off of the coast of somewhere in Mexico. And one of them would be used for like grand fiestas and weddings and things of that sort for high up members of this organization. And then the other one is where you get sent if it's OV for you. And it was a very like mythical type story until these two guys, I feel so bad for them to this day. They were just the nicest worker bees, in one of the major cities that we worked and lived in at throughout the times. They wanted a taste of their own success, I guess, at some point. They had families in Mexico and they sent, money back, but they were very much workers. They did the load jobs and guarded houses, but they were cool dudes, they didn't know no better. And I ended up finding out the story, so I'll tell you what happened. They wanted to rise in their level, from their position one time at this time, and they got a connection with, another boss in this city. And I guess the boss was like, okay, cool. And in his mind, he probably was like, these motherfuckers are betraying, I'm about to fuck them. That's so he sent them like a truck, not a semi truck, like a worker truck, type of deal that moves inner city wise. And they got the truck with all the drugs. I don't know how much was on it, but it was a lot. It was like a lot, like $1 million, over $1 million, like 1.3, I think, dude said. And then they turned around and robbed him. And it was an inside job, absolutely, from the people that did it. And how I know that because my boss, he's a good dude. He's a good dude, I definitely good dude. Fuck with him the long way. Like heart wise. I'm not saying like criminal. Okay, whatever. If you want to say criminals are bad, we're bad. I don't give a fuck. But like genuine wise, he's a good dude. He tried to pay it off when he found out. Then they betrayed him essentially, because they were trying to branch out on their own and get their own shit going. Might have even been trying to take customers that they, knew and served for on behalf of them. And they got called by the head of that organization to a meeting to the islands, and they never came back. And my boss offered to pay the debt off and everything.
in case you forgot who you're dealing with, so here we
Yeah,
go.
no, so I'm saying like, yeah, very
I got
much
you.
that happens and
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
like that. I'm not saying that I'm not saying that it doesn't, but
So let's transition a little bit here. So you start pushing coke with him pretty much immediately.
oh, immediately, like I said,
Do
immediately.
you scale up, or you have an average amount of weight you're pushing with him?
It usually would be 20 to 30 bricks a load. And at that time, every 2 months, 3 months at the most, I'd have a new load come in.
Okay. Profit margins, I'm assuming, go up because you're going
Oh
straight
yeah,
to the
I
source.
made like 75 grand in like 2 weeks profit. The first, that off that first,
Did you guys agree
that
on a
first
number,
20 sold
like
out
per
so bad.
unit, like you and him?
What?
Did you and him agree on a number per unit?
Yeah, well, I was paying 22,000 with the debt on top.
And you were still dropping them for 30 over here?
Yeah,
Oh,
30 or 32. Yes.
you make like 10 grand a brick.
That's what I'm saying. I
That's,
was
that's lovely.
up. Off that first round, I
That's
was
lovely.
up. I was
That's
up.
lovely.
It was over. You couldn't tell me
Oh,
nothing,
man.
honey. It was over.
All right. So how long is your run with coke with him?
Up until this point that I got busted.
Right, but at some point you can. Oh, so you were doing it at the same time as meth?
No, they just started fucking manufacturing meth fucking last year, 2024, I guess.
Ah.
So
Okay. So you have quite the run
insider,
before that
yeah,
ever comes up.
yeah.
Okay.
hmm
Shit.
I actually, and since then, I did take like a year off, a year and like 4 months off because of the custody case. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
Okay.
I just had to by choice. And then when I went back, that's how it started. He calls me one day. I'm in the tattoo shop getting this tattoo that says, "This too shall pass." I literally was getting that tattooed. It was my birthday. And this Mexico number is calling on WhatsApp. I knew immediately. I'm like, yes, because I was broke. I needed the money. I was like, yes. I was bored. It wasn't even really that I was bored. And I answer and, how are you? I need your help. I need you to come talk to me. Are you ready? That's a bet. What happened was insider fact and fun fact. I guess like there was this big meeting in Mexico. Mexico wants to start building Mexico. I think it's a very well-known fact that the government and the a certain cartel at least very much are intertwined, in the infrastructure of the country. But you got to think how much money the cartels have made over the years. They want to fix their country. They don't want to keep sending people over here. You know what I'm saying? Like for Trump's ass to send back. They're tired of that. So they're trying to limit the violence and stop the killing of civilians among cartel wars. They're trying to better their country with the position that they have as well. They're all my boss and them. They have pictures with the president, like crazy shit. Like it's deep, okay. And there was a meeting, basically. You gotta think there's the main large organization, but there's hundreds of little people, that want to be,
Right.
blah 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 blah. And they are like, put like an order out, basically, like, we're gonna start killing you motherfuckers who are who are dealing with the fentanyl. And it's a wrap for it. It's over. It's brought us nothing but shame and loss of money and loss of shipments because, America declared war on, the opioid crisis. And I don't blame them, and
What's
the
crazy
whole
is
we're in
Trump
the
just came out and he was like, fentanyl's a weapon of mass destruction. So yeah,
Hell,
it's
I
over.
almost got charged as a
That's
terrorist.
nuts.
I almost got charged as association with
So
terrorism.
two more question. So meth. So you started pushing meth.
It was
and
a brief run. Fucking, it was not. I don't like the ice world, and I've sold it in between. Back when I used to sell, the guy who ran all the pills. At some point, I did start selling, that in pounds, mind you, though not in key, but to facilitate his need was why I started doing it, because I like people to only have to deal with me,
Right.
and not have any
Not
other
deal
sort
with
out.
other people.
It makes safety so much better because I don't know who the fuck else you're dealing with. Like, and if they're hot and then they start watching you and then they just mosey upon, I've just always tried to think of, projection, trajectory,
risk mitigation. That's what makes
all
you,
around the board.
For sure.
Yeah. And I will say of my baby daddy, he taught me so much and taught me like counter surveillance technique. Like he was such a high key paranoid person. I didn't really get it back then. And then I got it at
Only
the
the
end.
paranoid survive though.
At the end of my run, it was worse than him
Yeah.
probably.
All right, so let's transition into how you got to the situation you're in now, how you got busted. How did this whole robbery at your house come about? Like what? Who
I
planned that? Like what happened?
I have to take it back to how really this all came about was when my baby daddy did eventually find out that I was working, and I really understand I understand I'm a very I see all sides of stuff. So I do understand from a man's point of view and like your pride and ego and all that, to feel like some type of way, especially me being his baby mama, especially me being, a woman, like I took something from you or stole your plug, whatever you want to call it. I get it to a degree, but I also, there was there is subtle threatening still, basically like, you can work and make all this money. Yes, it's beneficial to me, but I can't keep saving him. It's not me. At some point, my bosses are going to order, and you're going to get a call that your daughter's dad is dead. And that's really honest to God what the guys was, regardless of how me and how cool, or how good of a person I think dude is, my boss, he does have a boss over him, boss over him. And that is where they were at with it. They were sick of his problems and sick of, I think he threatened them a lot with what he knew and what he had done for them. And, at some point, people, I guess, get sick and tired of that. It doesn't matter what your value is or what, we're just going to kill, it does come to that at times in this business. And, he had just burned his last bridge. So, yes, I benefited from the situation, but I also was, in my eyes, saving your life. My daughter loves you regardless. They don't know. She doesn't know what we are. And so, yeah, and, but when he found out, instead of being grateful or being like, well, damn, my baby mama really is a down ass bitch. She's loyal. No, there was no, I don't owe them shit. They owe me money for you now. And started like blackmailing me. But he did this. I don't know if it was strategic or if he really did find out while he had it's just still school was like on video at this time, like online, and because it was still like, after COVID. And it was going back in California in person sooner. And he was like, she's old enough. I want to start. He was fired from our job. So he had nothing to do, honestly, is what it was. And he was back in California, at his family house. And he wanted Amira. And she was only supposed to go for 2 weeks, this was like before Thanksgiving. And he was supposed to fly her back. I had a bad feeling and I made him buy a round trip flight. Every time I've ignored my intuition about something major, it's went south. So when he finds this information out, all of a sudden he had her in California and he kidnapped her for 4 months. And it got so bad, ultimately, I went to California to get her back after he wouldn't return her. And I got robbed here for a couple bricks during that time period. And so just all this shit started going wrong all at once.
How did you seem like you had a great career? So how did all of a sudden you get robbed? You seem like you never had to deal with that kind of thing.
It was an internal thing. It was my stepdad, actually. He knew where I had some stashed. And he was a bad drug addict. I love him to death. I forgave him for it at this point. But he fucked me during this time. And
Who was it that was it three guys and a girl that robbed you and all that?
no, that's the cartel robbery. I'm talking about during this time I got robbed when I was in California.
Oh,
I'm
so
saying like,
Honor.
yeah,
Oh
I'm
wow,
telling the story when I went when
that's
he
crazy.
kidnapped her. Everything started going wrong at once. And it was so stressful. But that's how all this came about, because then I ended up having to go through the court system as much as I didn't want to ever be involved. I never been arrested. I've never had I've never had nothing but speed tickets, like, ever up to this point. And I didn't want to take him through the court. I didn't want to have to do it, but I had to fucking do it because it had been like 2 months now. She's missing school. I had to like unenroll her from school. And, I spent 2 months in California, had a lawyer out there, But the jurisdiction was it was a whole thing. I didn't want the jurisdiction to go to California because they favor even though I have dual residency there to this day. It was just a fucking lot. I didn't know what to do, and I was so overwhelmed. And honestly, at the time, I was so overwhelmed, I started self-medicating. I'm like taking Xanaxes to deal with the stress, and and there's like, it gets fuzzy in time, in time I'm drinking a lot. It was just bad. And so I had to go through the court system. And I never, Nelson, you hear me? I never in a million years. This man taught me everything I know, despite everything, whatever we were going through. I still had respect for him, like in a professional setting. I know what he's done. I know what he did. I know how hard it is to last and make it in this world. He's never been arrested either. He's never caught a case ever, and he's 9 years older than me. And I had some understanding of the hurt that he may feel, betray, and he made it way out of context. And
So what did he do?
so I went through the court system to get her back and got an emergency order. Da, 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 da. Eventually, he did have to give her back, and in turn, out of his anger, he submitted to family court. He kept saying she's Griselda Blanco, like fuck her, like no, my daughter's not safe with her. The court in California and here ordered like an internal like investigation, which is basically a Zoom meeting with somebody you don't know, asks you questions and looks your background up. We both had to go through it. Neither of us popped for nothing because neither of us had a record or charges or nothing that could be proved of what he was saying is true. And he just spazzed out finally, and he submitted to family court. I've never read past the second page ever because it makes me so sick. When my lawyer emailed it to me, she was like, prepare yourself. It's really bad.
Does that spark off like?
Yes.
Do they contact the feds and all that?
No, not immediately. This is in 2023, 2022. One of those, the last years have blended together when this started. And
So how does that tie into you getting busted?
because so he submits 50 pages incriminating both of us to the I'm talking pictures of hundreds of thousands of dollars vacuum sealed because you have to like send proof and stuff like that, or pictures of the money counter counting stuff, pictures of all the way back to this man had been trying to stack up on me back to the days of when I sold the pills, and I had pictures of thousands of Xanax bars and so, I mean, incriminating shit, That's supposedly from me though. I don't know that number. Why do you have this information is how I'm looking at it, And the judge too was like, sir, this is a family court case. We've proven, stop sending us this shit is what was her response was. But like a month later, and again, me being too loyal, I should have took this then. Like a month later, my lawyer calls me out of nowhere. I hired a Fed lawyer for this case. Badass Fed Baldoni Law Office, Lexington. And she calls me. She's like, so this prosecutor, Todd somebody, a federal prosecutor, reached out to me today and wants to know if you will sit down for a proffer. I didn't know what a proffer was at the time. And I'm like, a proffer for what? What's the case? There is no case. They are interested in him. They said they've been trying to find his name out for years and have never been able to identify him until now with this court case. And then, which if that tells you nothing, that he submitted all this against me, but they wanted him and knew who he was, that he was a ghost. And, and I was like, yeah, I can't do that. Like, there was no case, especially. What do you want me to build a case for you, bitch? Like, no, I'm not going to. As much as shit as he was doing to me, I've never been able to it's just not genuinely in my nature. Like, I would rather just pop your ass than go through all this, but it's my baby daddy, so I can't,
So do the feds use that as an excuse to come after you?
Okay, no. Then I'm like, sorry. That's when I was like, I gotta chill. I gotta take a break. I knew I was under investigation. I was. They were watching me then. And that's when, I'm getting paranoid. Then my nanny had my kids at the park, and they come in the house one day. I'm under so much stress. I needed help at the time, like, especially, and he's like, this bitch has a nanny. She's not like, you raggedy motherfucker. My kids, have the best of everything. Go to the #1 school and fucking like my kids are great. We have a great you don't understand. Like they are the reason why I did any of this. Like I don't even have a motivation to
Do the
do
feds come into
anything.
your house with like a search warrant or something like that?
Never, no. So nothing happens. Pump my brakes. I move, don't do anything for like a year and so until dude calls me up. He's like, you've been on a break. There's no fucking way that they're still watching you or found anything or they would have arrested you by now. You got to go back to work because you still owe money, you know? And he was like, the meeting, nobody's allowed to fuck with fentanyl in the bigger organizations no more. So we started manufacturing the best meth in the world. That's how it was fucking, pitched to me. I'm like, okay, well, fortunately, this area, this state particularly, and the surrounding ones I dabble in love methamphetamine, especially if it's pure. And so I'm like, okay, obviously, fuck it. Let's YOLO. But I need that Coke too. You know what I'm saying? Whatever you're going to send me, match. Oh, of course, of course, of course. Let's go. Do you want me to go into the story of after that? Or okay, but that's how the meth came about was
Okay. So how does that tie into you getting busted?
um so during that custody case time, I guess he was mad about the judge not, biting. Unbeknownst to me, but in hindsight makes a lot of sense. At that same time, this is in like March, April of that year of 2023. Um, he kept filing in California a restraining order on me, a domestic violence restraining order at that. Little old me. This dude is 6'1". He's a professional boxer. Like huge. And it got denied like 3 times. On the 4th time, he submitted a text message from me. It was for me that said, if I get questioned for what you did in Frankfurt, I'm going to be 38 hot. And that was his business deal. Somebody who worked for him said that they got robbed for $25,000. He was like, I'll never forget the story. He was like, I walked in the house. This fucking dude is just blah 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 blah. He's showing me the bullet holes in the wall, saying he got robbed. He said I just was like, he fucking staged this and set it up and shot him in his kneecap, blew his kneecap off, and then made the guy. He showed me the picture too on. Then made the guy go to the hospital and was like, if you fucking telling me I'm a fucking, it's a wrap. Dude sent a picture from the hospital with crutches and his knee all wrapped up. I swear to God. Over 25 bands though. Like, fuck out of here. Yeah. So he got it granted on that one, and I'm like, what the fuck? It's so stupid. It ends this year, in March, and then apparently at that same time, now that I have my discovery, he was leaving voicemails to the Lexington Police Department saying verbatim, Blake Rossi is bringing and moving in tens of keys of, he fucking lied and said fentanyl as well, of cocaine, fentanyl, you know, voicemails. And I guess I'm sure they investigated me at some point at that time, but I was not stupid, obviously, and so I wasn't doing anything wrong. And so, it somehow led to the Lexington police passed it to the state police, the voicemail. Also, what contributed was that guy that got busted, that was blamed for the money. When he got busted, I guess he briefly, without he didn't get anything from it, but he gave a statement saying that me and one of his other cousins he told on, but just a statement. He never cooperated after that. It was just, I think he was in the hot seat and they're like, scaring him, because nothing ever came of it. He didn't get no time off. They didn't do anything afterwards, um,
So the state
he was
police.
like, this girl, I know this girl, her name's Blake. It wasn't super detailed. But she moves cocaine. I've seen pictures on her phone is what the statement was. So I guess by the time they put that and that together, that 2 separate people are saying
The same thing.
that this girl is,
Yep.
high level like that. Why it took almost 3 years, I don't understand, but somehow state police passed it to Homeland Security, and I'll never know, I guess, because they leave stuff out. I think maybe because I was visiting Mexico so much at the time that this all happened, didn't work for, over a year, nothing at all. And then just s- shit, time catches up with you, so not whatever. However, the universe plays its games. At times, it was what's that saying? The perfect storm. By the time Homeland Security started looking into me, and they had their DEA Homeland Security task. That is a trip, I will tell you, to get hit and it be Homeland fucking Security. You never foresee that. You never see that coming. Like, I don't know. I guess I should have fucking considering, what I was doing. But, you think DEA or, just detectives. I don't know. But I remember specifically, they didn't arrest me when they found the drugs. The state police pulled me over and they got me on a humble. I almost never would have had, anything like that on me. My driver that day fucking bailed on me last minute and I was like, fuck it, this is a million times, you know what I'm saying? Whatever, fuck it. I'll take this little 10 keys. That ain't shit. My dumbass. And state police pulled me over. I'm bullshitting going back and forth with them. They were trying to find probable cause to search the car, even though I wasn't giving it to him. And fucking he knew that I knew too. I was so dry with them. And it was like this young cop, and he had like a cocked smile on his face. And I knew we were looking at each other dead in our eyes talking. After they finally were like, that's probable cause. It was bullshit. He said, "Hey, have you ever smoked any weed in the car? The dog is like, I think hitting on marijuana." I was like, "No, I've not smoked any marijuana, but I do have a Kentucky medical marijuana card." He said, "Oh, that's probably." I said, "No, no, 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 no." He said, "How do you have a Kentucky medical marijuana card? It's not legal here yet." The weed or the card? Because I most definitely got it. I was like, "I'll pull it up." He already fucking told the other people to go to search it at that time. So I'm sitting there in the back of his police car watching them fucking open the drugs up and they pull it out. He comes over to the door and opens the door up. And I'm expecting him to cuff me, blah, blah, blah. He's like, "Give me your phone." And he's like half smiling and we're looking at each other and I'm like, yeah. And he was like, "Just sit back down and wait. There's somebody coming to talk to you on the side of the fucking road right here." Like, and right past Louisville. And I was like, "Somebody's coming to talk to me." I was like, "What the fuck?" And that's when I knew it was a grand orchestration for real. Cause he didn't cuff me. I was like, "What the fuck is going on?" A few minutes later, and it's like in the TV shows with the jackets with HSI on the back. I didn't see the fucking at first, but it pulls out a fucking badge. "Hi, I'm so and so from Homeland Security." I was like, "Holy shit," but that's when I knew what it was, immediately. And yeah, good
That here we
times.
are.
Yeah.
Uh,
But they didn't
Blake,
know shit for real. They acted
I
like they did.
I wish we had time to get it. Your story has so many layers, man. Oh my god.
I fucking told
So
you 2 hours was not gonna be enough. I literally told you that. But
Blake,
catch me on the back end when I get out of prison, player.
so the reason I came here is because potentially in a couple of days you might be going in already.
Oh,
So
yes.
um
Yeah, I enter my guilty plea on Wednesday. So pray to
so
God for me that they let me remain out
so
till
usually I
sentencing.
wrap up asking the same few questions, but in your case I'll leave some out. Um and I'll just focus on one. I want to frame it the right way. You believe in redemption?
Hell yeah.
What does the road ahead look like for you?
I am going to be super successful in a legitimate manner
Mm,
and, basically be able to show people it doesn't matter what I do. I'm going to make it successful,
mm.
And it's all a mentality, man. Like it's what you put
I
your
agree.
energy to and your drive. I feel like I needed to complete that like chapter. I feel like I needed to do that and be that person to be who I am today and who I will be moving forward. I feel
Mm,
like, it'll be sweeter when I do make it more so on the level of like what my actual dreams and passions were.
mm.
But you don't get to feed that side of yourself when you live in survival mode your whole life. I've been in survival mode as long as I can
I can relate.
think and live. Yeah, so
So Blake, I'm glad that we became friends. This is a good side of social media. You get to meet great people. Um, I think we'll do great things in the future together.
yep, looking forward to it. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
I kept my promise. You were the first podcast that I did. I've not given
Yeah,
anybody
right before
else.
you go into prison. So this is definitely
Yes.
an
Well,
exclusive.
I believe in loyalty, and you were the first person that I talked to. So
Mm,
when the other opportunities arose, just like with Jason, I didn't
mm.
know that you all were friends. And I was like, hey, look, man, this dude, I was,
It's my boy.
you were like, no, that's my dog. Okay.
So thank you again. This has
Thank
been great.
you for having me. And thank you.
We'll do a part 2 once you come back in a couple years.
A couple years.
Alrighty, guys, that was another episode of Honor Among Thieves with your special guest, Blake Rossi. Your host, as always, Nelson Rodriguez Jr. Push it to the limit. The world is yours. If you're not chasing a dream, life is meaning in disguise. Catch you on the next one. Say goodnight to the bad guy.
FBI, open up!